California Psychics. Tomorrow starts today. Career, money, relationships, and love. We have so many big decisions in life. Isn't it worth it to you? Isn't it worth it to have your own personal advisor giving you that peace of mind and confidence that you're on the right path? Call California Psychics at 1-800-PREDICT or go to californiapsychics.com to speak to someone to help give you the direction you've been looking for. Whether it's a big decision, something personal you need to know, maybe having doubts about that next step in your life. CaliforniaPsychics.com is only $1 a minute for new customers. Call 1-800-PREDICT now before you make that financial leap. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com before you miss your opportunity on Mr. Right. Tomorrow starts today with CaliforniaPsychics.com. 1-800-PREDICT. 1-800-PREDICT. California Psychics. Tomorrow starts today.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
PodcastOne.com presents the Ask Women Podcast. A place where two comics and a professional wing girl get together to dissect the female mind.
You don't know how I feel.
And explain it to men in terms they can actually understand. Booze. Now, here's the lovely ladies of Ask Women.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Ask Women Podcast, where you get real advice straight from the source. I'm Kristen Carney, a comedian, host, and happy to introduce myself. Of course, along with Marni Kinrys, best-selling author and owner of Wing Girl Method.
And new mother.
So let's just pretend that doesn't exist. And
yeah, nobody wants to hear from a mother.
No.
This is what you do to get girls.
Listen, son. And of course, Palmeri, who's joining us again, who was here last week with us. Thank you so much for coming in again.
Of course, my pleasure.
We, just so you guys know, have a Twitter page. And I don't know, we get like 100,000 downloads on average per episode. We only have 1,500 Twitter followers.
Because our followers are cool enough to not be on Twitter.
I know that. I agree. But
you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot by saying
No, well, I am.
If they were on Twitter, they'd be following us because we give tons of awesome advice that it's not on this show. It's not like we just say like, hey, we're going to the grocery store. Hey, we're like being checked out at Whole Foods. We actually are giving actionable advice as well on that Twitter account.
So it's just a good way to stay current with your upkeep of your dating life.
Yeah, exactly. Like great resources, great things, like great blogs, great articles. So there's tons of other additional information that you're not getting on our podcast on our Twitter account. If you do want to sign up and follow us on Twitter, which I think you should.
Yeah, you'll just be a little egg following one person. That's us.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then we'll just give you advice, and that's it. But anyway, we are doing a new segment. Marni's a Wing Girl Minute, so we're going to get into that right now.
Yes, we're getting into the Wing Girl Minute. Okay, get off your butt. How are you going to meet women if you are sitting at home on the couch watching tons of how to get women videos? If your plan is to seduce the UPS delivery woman, then stay put. If not, get off your butt at least 1 to 2 times per week and do something social. That's where you're going to meet women. And that is your Wing Girl Minute.
Yeah, you don't want to meet the woman UPS driver unless you're into bowling. Then I say go for it. I don't know.
What?
I don't know. I just stereotyped a woman UPS driver as a bowler.
As a bowler?
I don't know. Brown suit just reminds me of bowling. I don't know. 70s.
Maybe that makes sense.
Right.
70s. My parents met in a bowling alley.
I feel like that's a deeper issue we should get into.
I mean, in the 70s though, that's like
that was a cool thing to do.
Yeah,
so that's all you did.
Yeah, my mom was like, "Oh, who's that cool guy in the leather jacket?" And he was like, "Who's the cool girl in the leather skirt
carrying the 12?"
Here I am, hating life. But I always forget to introduce Art.
Art is our phenomenal producer, and he makes shit happen over here at Podcast One. He protects us, and he makes sure that we stay on course. So he's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
and he gives great male feedback too.
He does. And so later in the show, Barry Katz is going to join us. He has a podcast called Industry Standard. He has a very high standard for living and for like succeeding and all that kind of stuff. He created New Wave Entertainment, which is like a very, very, very influential talent agency that's launched like so many tons of comedy careers. So we're going to be talking to him about how to be successful.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was saying to you, I heard about him right after you mentioned he's going to be on the show. I heard Tracy Morgan talking about him on the Howard Stern show, and Tracy Morgan was saying he's the person who saw something in me and got me my start. Yeah. And he's done that for so many freaking amazing, like Louis C.K., right?
Yeah.
Tons of other
Whitney
amazing
Cummings,
comedians.
a lot of people.
Yeah, huge comedian. So, yeah, he knows about how to be successful. So I think it'll be really interesting to talk to him. Is that him outside?
That's him outside.
Awesome. I'm excited to talk to him. Well, I wanted to bring up a topic because we've talked about it before, but I wanted to see what you guys thought for, men and paying for dates and when they should speak up about paying for dates too much? Like, at what point?
Year 6. That's the point I'm at with my boyfriend.
Like,
Never.
The main thing is, like, how do men know if they're being taken advantage of? And that's what I want to talk about for this week's chapter in the Man's Playbook.
Is that when I'm supposed to chime in?
No. Are you ready? Isn't that hilarious? That's never going away. That's never going away. I think it's fantastic. So I want to talk about this because, I believe that a man should pay for the first date. Doesn't mean that a date has to be expensive. Doesn't mean that you have to shell out like tons of cash. But a man should pay 100%. No Dutch. No woman paying. I can't get rid of that.
There's something where I will see at work, since I'm still bartending for a living, where a man and a woman will come up to the bar and they'll order drinks together and then they'll pay separately.
Oh, I find that so weird.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because
nobody's getting blown later if that's happening.
First of all, and second of all, you should just, if you're out and it's clear you're on a date, just pay.
Yeah.
It just cuts out so much difficulty, and you can't
be the next one.
Emotionally, it's easier to just handle.
I hate to interject, but I disagree with you guys entirely.
Okay, well, I want to hear. I
knew I shouldn't have introduced you.
Yeah, exactly. See, you
gave him a voice, Kristen.
Well, I just think that there's a level of respect that is gained by not offering to always be paying for.
That's different.
The situation, whatever situation you're out in. For example, like the person I'm with, we always go Dutch. I think almost probably 98% of the time.
You go Dutch still, and
Does
you
Dutch
live
mean
together.
Half?
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I wouldn't know because I never go Dutch.
But I will never combine bank accounts with anybody. I will have maybe a third that is used for bills or something like that if I'm living with somebody. But we will always keep.
You go out for dinner and you both put down a credit card.
Yeah.
You and your girlfriend.
I find that so weird. Like I get like
Why?
switching off, but like both of you putting out but you live with each other.
It's a pain in the ass for the waiter or the bartender because then they have to do the math. They're like, I don't know math. I'm waiting tables. How would I be good at math? That's why I'm waiting tables. Now I have to split a check.
You get a calculator and you take 46.21 and you divide it by 2 and then
it's horrible. It's too difficult.
When I first started dating my husband, I didn't have as much money as he did, and I would try to.
Nice work.
I know, seriously. Now it's different.
Now she's wearing the pants.
Exactly. But I would try to, reimburse him in other ways, not with just sexual favors, obviously. But he would buy dinner, I would buy breakfast. I would always, I would never just allow him to continuously pay, and that's the main thing that I want to talk about today. Because a lot of guys, but that's interesting that you still go Dutch. I think that's so interesting.
She's very adamant about keeping it fair, and I agree.
Okay.
I think it's.
What'd you find?
It doesn't create expectations on either end for the other. It doesn't build that unspoken kind of like I'm expecting you to pay now.
I love that. The fact that she's offering it. Okay, because the main thing
she's offering, she's adamant.
I love that even more. So the thing that I want to talk about is women who are not adamant about it, and when they continuously let a man pay, but don't ever offer or bring up saying, "Oh, I will pay." I want to talk about how to bring up that conversation to women that. You know what? Maybe it's time for you to pay.
Well,
Paul was with him.
My boyfriend pays essentially like 95% of the time. If he was here, he'd be like 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Right.
But occasionally, like I will pay for breakfast or brunch and things like that. But if we go out to a really expensive dinner, I don't have the means that he does. He pays for it. He has no problem.
Right.
But like for example, having my birthday recently, we went out to a very, very expensive dinner. I know that he bought me a very nice present, and then we went to brunch on Easter. And if I didn't offer, I would feel so humiliated or embarrassed. And so I I was going to pay, but he poked me and he was like, "You gonna pay this time?" Kind of like playful. And I was like, "Yeah, actually I am a-hole. And I'm getting on my card right now." So I think like creating like a banter or a playfulness about it where there isn't that bitterness. I mean, he's not bitter at me for it, but that's just the way that we function. Right. And I will, when he knows I can throw in, I will. But
let's say you're dating for the first couple of months and you're sitting across from this woman who is a lawyer. And she, has never offered to pay or say, like, why don't I cook you dinner or something like.
Well, that's something I feel like you can get a sense within the first even few dates, if not weeks together, is that if there's never a mention or an offer or anything or a thank you. I mean, you can even tell in the way they say thank you. If they're saying thank you and it's just kind of like they're going through the boilerplate, thank you, I'm the woman I know you're supposed to pay type thing, you could tell that right away.
But is that a deal breaker?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
Because it just sets up why I just is. There's just, I don't know if it's something. Same reason why it's weird for me that Art goes Dutch all the time. It's just like, was raised a certain way. You just pay for dinner. That's just what you do. You pay for dinner. You pay for whatever. You don't get offended when they try to offer. Like, my fiance all the time will be like, hey, let me get it this time. And I'll be like, well, you know what? All right, fine. If you're going to offer, sure. I'm not offended by that. But there's times I see, women at the bar, again, it's a good example where they'll order something and they won't even like move for their purse. It's just not like, and it's not in like I'm like, he told me beforehand he was going to buy my drink, because usually that's like, he's like, no, I got it. And she's like, no, what? Really? There's just not even a move, and it's just like, oh, buddy, I feel.
But there is something very attractive when a guy does walk up to the bar and he orders whatever it is that you wanted, and he gets it and he puts his card down or his cash down, and then he just hands you the drink. It can be very like romantic, or it makes the roles prominent. He's the masculine, you're the feminine, and it makes I know, but Art wears tight pants.
And the more I'm thinking about this, I'm probably like an anomaly or an exception to the rule, because I've had a tendency to date women that are more well off. Like I just, for some reason, I attract women with money. And,
tell me all your secrets.
And
you mean they're sad?
Yeah, no, not necessarily. I don't know what it is. It's just it's a trend that I've seen over the course of my life. So when I've gone out with people,
he's their arm candy.
I'm just a trophy wife.
Boy toy.
He's a boy toy.
They will, insist on paying. So I'm used to being almost kind of like
coddled,
taken care of in so many certain ways.
And I am as well.
But I don't expect it in any way. And I don't have a problem with going out and paying for anything like that. But I do think that there's a certain fairness that just keeps the playing field level.
Well, when these women have been, taking care of you for the prolonged periods of time, did you offer?
Oh yeah, and I would go out and I would pay for things, pretty regularly, but. There would just be situations, and I'm talking about people who would fly me out to New York for a week. Just,
what?
Whoa.
A whole other side of Art just opened up.
Art male gigolo.
Oh my God, Art is that guy where he'd like be flown to Paris
first class,
weekend, like on a private jet.
not necessarily first class, no.
Oh,
sorry, business. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly.
But like the car that I drive right now, my Mini Cooper, was bought by my ex for me as a gift.
What?
And that's the second car.
Sugar mamas. What is going on?
Not anymore.
I thought you were a hipster.
No, God, no. I hate that word.
I'm just kidding.
The person I'm with now, I will be with for the rest of my life, and we're pretty even in what we make. There's not. We both. We come from the same place, but in the past, I think I'm just maybe coming from a much different mindset than most people. So I should just shut the hell up and get off.
No, I love it but that's the whole thing. There are a lot of women who go on dates with men who do have a lot more money than them, and then they're like, oh, well, he has more money, he should pay. I think that doesn't mean they're horrible women.
I think women are raised to marry up too. For the most part.
Maybe.
But they also possibly saw that. Like, I know for my dad, when we went out to eat, going out to eat was a free-for-all. Whatever you wanted, that was, like, exciting. My dad would, my dad had a wad of cash on him, and that's what we got. That's what we did. And we were never spoiled kids, but so I always saw my dad paying. And so that's what I brought into my adult life, is just the man paid.
I was in a situation with my parents.
It was just like the way he drove the car.
See, my parents were very different. That my dad was so controlling about money that my mom was never able to come in on the financial side of it. She never knew anything. She was given an allotment basically, every week to spend.
Same with my mom.
So I think that I almost reacted to that in such a way that I wanted to go opposite of that, where I didn't want to be so I saw how my mom was controlled, and that was part of the reason why they split up. So I think that I almost wanted to make sure that from where I was coming from, that I didn't do that to somebody, and that I didn't make them feel.
As long as I think the bottom line is, as long as you're not dating someone for the meals and for the free things, you'll find what works for you.
And for the record, I always did. Everybody I ever dated that had money, I genuinely liked being with, and that was why I never did it for the money.
Right, just for the cars.
No the cars or anything.
Interesting. Well, I'm not really sure how to wrap this one up, but I will say, because I love what you just said. As long as they're not with you because of the money. There are people with different backgrounds. They have different visuals and expectations. Like, I love that you said, I saw that the man paid, and we all know, listening to Kristen for the past year, that she's a wonderful girl. So she's not trying to take advantage of men.
And that goes. I saw my dad pay, so it's just what you do.
And we're also like,
I also saw my dad get the door and open the door and hold the door and get the chair. So
I didn't see that part. I wouldn't give him that much credit.
Really?
And he always ordered first. I'll have this. My mom's like sitting in the background, like, what about me?
I want to eat too.
Paul and I both come from the East Coast. You're from New Jersey. I'm from New York. And like, I think you're Italian. I'm Italian. I don't think any of the Italian women, especially like from our time, were paying.
No.
So, I mean, it just depends on where you come from, what your culture is, and if you can agree together as a couple on what works. Even in the beginning, you can talk about it.
But I love the way that you said to bring it up, where you can slightly tease about it and joke around. Like, if it is something that's bothering you, if anything is ever bothering you with a woman that you're dating, you can bring it up. Just don't become emotionally charged when you bring it up. Bring it up calmly and just talk about it. That's the whole point of dating, is to figure out whether or not you're on the same page and whether you can understand each other and work through confrontation. So, that's it for this week's chapter of The Man's Playbook.
Yeah, and we're going to get Barry in here because I actually told him or he was going to be here at 3 and I forgot, not 3:30. So we got to get him in the studio. So we will be right back with Barry Katz.
Hey, it's Marni. Is your computer running slow? Well, mycleanpc.com can clean it up and speed it up today. Now, you might be asking yourself, how did my computer get this way? Right? It's freaking frustrating. Well, opening infected email attachments, downloading music and games can slow your computer down, as it has done with mine. Over time, running these programs can cause junk files, internet clutter, processor and hard drive errors to build up on your computer. MyCleanPC can help. First, go to mycleanpc.com, and in minutes, you can get a free computer diagnosis and find out what's slowing down your computer. Then simply activate MyCleanPC software to clean out the junk, internet and clutter, and even remove viruses. And MyCleanPC is guaranteed to increase the speed of your computer. With MyCleanPC, there are 2 easy steps to speed up your computer. First, go to mycleanpc.com and get a free computer diagnosis. Then simply activate MyCleanPC software to optimize your computer performance. Go to mycleanpc.com today and find out what's slowing down your computer. That's mycleanpc.com.
The Bret Easton Ellis Podcast.
Filmmaker Nicholas Jarecki, what do you think is going to be playing at the ArcLight in 10 years? The future of this experience?
It will continue much as it is. We're doing the same things, and that's because we're animals and we've got a biology, and this appeals to us. I don't think the movie will go away. People still like a great storyteller to lead them through the tale. I believe that.
The Bret Easton Ellis Podcast. Download a brand new episode every Monday at podcast1.com.
Tomorrow starts today. When 2014 started, I'm sure all of you made promises to yourself. You wanted to fall in love, maybe meet the right guy, maybe meet the right girl. However, with each day that passed, you told yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, tomorrow starts today. Call 1-800-PREDICT or go to CaliforniaPsychics.com to talk to your personal advisor. We're all curious about finding our soulmate, Mr. Right, Mrs. Right, and clearing out any doubts about that big decision. California Psychics will provide you the direction to give you that needed confidence. New customers can try it for only $1 a minute. Why wait for tomorrow when tomorrow starts today? Call 1-800-PREDICT for your personal advisor or visit CaliforniaPsychics.com.
You're listening to the Ask Women Podcast, a Podcast One presentation.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Ask Women Podcast. We are here with Barry Katz, the one, the only.
All right.
We're so excited to have you here. We talked you up at the beginning, so.
You did?
Yeah.
So you better perform.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here with your guest host, the Resident Penis.
I know, I love it. Resident Penis, I like that name.
Hello.
It's better than Voice of Man.
And I just want to say to you, I didn't know you just had a baby. And,
I did.
And the owner of Podcast One came in, and literally, I will see you at the trial after what he said.
Exactly. Very inappropriate.
There should be like 5 trials.
I can't believe the guy. I mean, he came in here literally. I thought he was going to say hello, and he spent like 5 minutes talking about how large your breasts were.
I know. Well, they are.
And your co-host,
I wouldn't be offended
Kristen,
if you talked
said
about
something
how small
really. You said something really, really funny because Chris Kattan came in and he said, "Listen, don't worry. You know, your breasts will get bigger. They get bigger when you use them." And you said
that's why they're this small, because they're never used. Ever.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
It's a sad life for Kristen. That sounds horrible.
It is not sad, actually.
I prefer it. It's weird. I get very strange with, like, I don't know. It's so like pre-programmed to be like, oh, boobs and sex, and I'm like, no, it's not original anymore.
No,
you know what I mean?
No. There's people out there like me who are leg people.
Oh yeah, or leg people.
Like armpit people? Is that what they should be doing? Is that no?
Well, leg, butt.
This is so fascinating. Sitting across from you guys, you're like the charisma twins. It's unbelievable.
Really?
Oh.
I don't even know what that means, but I like it.
Well, I'm the twin that's clearly clearly doing better in life, and everyone feels bad for her.
I think, just come, because what's weird is your audience is already here. They know you. They know what you're like. But I'm walking in here, and I don't know anything. It's like a clean slate. It's 0-0. And when I sit across from you guys, what you just said to me, that's your winning formula. That's what you do. You downplay yourself.
Oh, of course.
But in turn, you're actually amazing.
Insanely confident and well adjusted.
Let him keep talking.
I know. I'm going to let this keep going.
Seriously,
you'll
stop interrupting.
Get to know me in about 5 minutes. You'll be like, wait, I was wrong.
No,
she hates herself.
No, but the thing is that you just put that out there, what you were, to somebody who doesn't know you.
Yeah, because I want to set the expectations low so that I can always exceed them.
No, but that's your winning formula.
It is.
That's what you do.
It works.
But you know that when you get out of the shower and you look in the mirror and you walk out that door, you're going to fuck people up.
Well, I'd say once I put the makeup on, I know that.
And the
but
clothes.
Before the makeup, yeah, I'm like, ooh, this is... I look like Plain Jane. That Plain Jane doesn't win.
Actually, I'm not an expert on makeup, but I would tell you that I would have no idea that you're wearing any makeup.
That's the goal. That's the whole goal in my life, is to try so hard that you can't even tell I'm trying.
That's the whole goal of makeup in general.
Clothing. I thought
this
about,
took her 4 hours.
This for 6 days. No, I'm just kidding.
You had that on the bed for 6 days?
Yeah. I didn't sleep on the bed. I left it there.
I have so many questions.
I wish
for
the
you guys.
pickup guys from last episode were still here, because this is how it's done right now.
Right.
I know.
Watching Barry work right now.
I know.
Really?
Yeah.
I have
Magic
nailing
is
it.
happening.
You can't see
See,
this
and
guy.
you're not even trying.
I'm like Kristen. I'm not trying.
Well, that's
see?
good, because he's here to talk about being successful.
But this is
So I
what's
wonder
weird.
if
Now,
this is the
but
missing thing.
You look at your hair. Like, your hair is perfect.
You like my hair?
You could get in a hurricane and
Thank
your
you.
hair would not move.
In all honesty, Barry, that's now my biggest credit. Barry Katz thinks I have perfect
Well,
hair.
it's better than George Hamilton. He's only known for a tan. So.
There you go.
So now my 2 biggest credits are Brody Stevens thinks I'm ripped, and Barry Katz thinks I have great
You
hair.
could literally run your fingers through your hair.
Do you want to?
Your hands would bleed. It's unbelievable.
He doesn't want to cut his fingers
It's just
off.
like really like
Thank
it's
you.
there. It's perfect.
That
It's a big point of pride for me, so thank you very much. And you have a wonderful head of hair yourself.
It's
you
all
have the
over-
head of hair I've always wanted. It's straight, it's flowy.
It's straight, but
okay.
it has movement.
Yeah.
So now that we've had this love fest from all 4 of us,
Yeah.
I want to talk about you, Barry, and about
right.
success, because
No, I'm cool with what we were just talking
you're like,
about.
let's talk more about me and how wonderful I am. No, but I want to hear about being successful, because for a lot of guys who are listening to this podcast, success with women is extremely far off for them, or at least in their minds, it's not even achievable. So I know that you have had great success in your life, but there must be something about you or about where you come from or your belief system that allows you to go after those successes.
Well, this is going to blow you away, but, success is always relative, and I think perception isn't always reality.
Like for my family, literally getting off the couch, they're like, "She's so successful."
Well, your family, we'll talk about that. That's another podcast. But the thing is like everybody believes people are a certain level or what they are, and I'm never going to be, let me rephrase that. I'm looking forward to be at a certain level, and I'm not at that point yet. And so when I look in the mirror, I'm like an anorexic who looks in the mirror and thinks he's fat. I don't see myself as successful at all.
I think many successful people feel that way.
And I don't look at it that way. But you talked about women, and it's fascinating to give you some insight into me. This is weird. I could be in a situation where I could go out to dinner with a woman like literally 10 times and close down the place 10 times and never touch them.
Really?
I'm like a situation where I worry as a guy, and maybe it's because I feel like I want to be a good man. Because I feel like if you give a woman, as a man, there's so few really, really good men out there who really take the time with a woman, that if you become intimate with a woman, you take the time with her. They're so used to so many people that are so horrible and so bad out there that immediately the first thing is, I think I'm falling in love, or I think I want to spend. And then it's like, oh my God, I can't even have a casual thing because these people want something. So I think if you're a good man, there was once a comedian, I forget the name of her, on Last Comic Standing. She had this great thing where she said, in relationships, I learned how to get away with not doing something. For instance, like, when a guy asks me to do something for him sexually, what I do is I do it really badly. and people ask, well, why do I do it that way? It's easy, because when I was younger, my mom used to say, listen, load the dishwasher.
Right.
And when I loaded it really poorly, she'd be like, fuck it, don't do it again.
Yeah, do it again, exactly.
And so the thing is, so that's what it is. So I feel like a lot of women out there, I hope you don't mind, permission to speak freely?
Oh, of course, yeah. Only.
I think what happens is a lot of women have lost hope. And you, if you don't mind me saying, you're in a position where you're at the most hopeful point in your life. So right now, you're so fucking hopeful that you just popped out a baby and you're here in front of me doing an interview.
Exactly.
Like, you're not taking your 3 months off that they tell you to take.
I know.
You're in here. That's how hopeful you are. Now, believe it or not, even though you're not as hopeful, Kristen, you do have hope, and you are hopeful, and I feel that from you.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, but the what happens is it's like a graph. It's like the later a woman gets in, whether 20s, 30s, 40s, they start losing hope. And when you're a guy,
and that's when you swoop in.
Well, normally a lot of men do, but for me, what really makes me sad is I want to be around people with hope. And so what happens is you end up having to register with meganslaw.com if you're a guy like me, because the only people who really have a lot of hope
are like 12 and under.
Are people are like 12 and under. And, that's the X-Men demographic. So,
So these women that you do go on several dates with, that you don't try anything with, is that because you don't want to show that you are a bad guy, or because you may be too fearful of trying to make a move?
No, I think it's because I don't want to appear to be a bad person, and because I think if you experience intimacy with a woman, I think the natural thing in my mind is that they're thinking, hey, well, he's never going to call me. He's that kind of guy who's never going to call me.
So do women appreciate that from you?
I think they do, but then eventually I think they think, look, is this guy gay?
Yeah, they get pissed off.
Very confusing.
They get pissed off.
Like my ex...
You're their resident penis at that point?
I'm the resident. Yeah. My ex said to me, I told her this one time, and how I go out to a lot of dinners and like spending time because it's wonderful. And she said to me, fine, I'm going to be... She said, Barry. She leaned over. She's like, Barry, women want to fuck, okay?
Yeah.
Just cut the shit.
Yeah.
They want to just make the move and do it. They want to just want to be. Another woman who I told is a friend of mine, she wrote a book on, and I'll get you the name of the person later, and she said she sent me an article from her book, like a chapter, and it was all about the whole illusion that women every woman in the world wants something, and the chapter was every woman in the world wants to be thrown against the bathroom wall and taken.
Absolutely.
And it's like
we talk about that all the time on our show.
Okay, so as
that's
a guy,
that's how she became a mom.
Yeah.
So as a guy, that's wonderful. I didn't know that. I'm sure your child will love that story.
I didn't know that.
Sure, he will, and we'll tell him multiple times a year.
Listen, you were conceived right before I asked the girl underneath to give me a roll of toilet paper.
There you go.
That's wonderful. But yeah, and I feel like this is the thing also that's interesting, is that I know this is weird that I'm realizing this now, but I love this. I love sitting across from you, and you too, by the way.
Thank you.
Even though I'm not
as
feeling as much for you as I am for
right.
But I love this because I feel there's this interesting thing that women have, and they have this thing, and even though you're married and you have a child, and I don't know if you're single or whatever, but there's this thing, like, if you'll oblige me. All right, you're single, right?
I have a boyfriend, but we'll go with single.
Let's pretend.
90% of the time I'm single.
Got it. If you go out in your day 10 times, okay, and you meet like a guy who's like as good looking as your co-host here or whatever, and you just have an interaction, let's say he's a barista, he's in the library, a guy at the front desk or whatever, and you turn around and you walk the other way, how many times are you going to say, I wonder what that'd be like? Probably, if I'm not, I hope I'm not wrong here, probably the average woman, maybe 1 or 2 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
But a guy, the same thing.
Standards are much higher.
But a guy runs into 10 women in different various places.
Falls in love 10 times.
Turns around and says,
I want to fuck her.
I wonder what that'd be like.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the difference is that, like, if guys run into women in situations where it doesn't really matter what the woman's doing as her job if they see her as a barista. But if I ran into, like, a guy who is a barista, I'd be like, I know what that's going to be like. Like, I'm going to be paying all the time.
What about if it was just randomly on the street and you didn't know what they did?
Well, we talk about it all the time on our show that women aren't automatically just triggered by looks. It's like, okay, you're good looking. What else you got?
I know that, but what I'm saying is when I sit across from Kristen, this is odd, and I'm not trying to say, I feel something. And there's because of the way that because of the way she is.
I'm charismatic, like you said in the beginning. There's a charisma,
and so
humble.
Totally humble.
So if I feel something, and even though if I didn't know you had a baby or whatever, I feel something because you have this thing that there's this thing that happens that. It's like, I remember when Whitney Cummings said this one thing to me. She said, Barry, and she came to a meeting at my office one time, and she was like a little bit out of it. I'm like, what's the matter? She's like, Barry, I just was on my way over here. I got a text from this comedian, and he said, I'm in this area. Do you want to grab a cup of coffee before you go to your meeting? And I'm sitting having a cup of coffee with the guy, and 5 minutes in, I'm saying to myself, Is this a date? Does this guy think this is a date? This guy thinks it's a date. And I think that's the thing that's really hard for men and women and especially women in this business. And you're married, so you're okay. But you're going to have a very difficult time because everywhere you go on like the owner of Podcast One, and this will probably be edited out of this podcast.
No, it'll stay in for sure.
But the fact is, this man, who is probably one of the most successful guys around, comes in here and with a celebrity from Saturday Night Live and spends 5 minutes talking about your boobs in front of 4 guys and all of us. 10 witnesses to the fact that he did something that literally he could go away and lose everything.
So actually, we have it all on record. So technically, I may be the owner of Podcast One.
You are the owner of, because to me, honestly, all he has to say is, "You look nice today," and he's gone.
Yeah, 100%.
And so the point being is that this is what blows me away about our world. And you being single, so whatever you do, wherever you go, there's always going to be somebody in a position of power who falls in love with you. And I want to say something else about this. Like in film and television, I don't mean to, I'm not trying to drop names, but I remember I went to the Actors Gang to a show, and Tim Robin is the curator of the Actors Gang, and he's just an amazing community guy. He puts so many hours into it. Yeah. And if you've never been to the Actors Gang in Los Angeles, support it.
It's awesome.
It's amazing. And I got to ask him a question sometime when he was with Susan Sarandon. I said, how do you do these films where you have a love interest in the film? And he said, it's very hard, Barry, because what happens is like when you're an actor, you go on the set, and from the moment you get there to craft services, you have to get yourself in the mode that you are in love with this woman. And for 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, every day, you're in love with this woman. And she's on the set, and she's in love with you, and if she's a great actress and she's giving everything to it, you fall in love on that set. And so when you leave that set, that's why a lot of people leave their relationships, because they're in these situations where they can't disengage. And it's the same as, Kristen, as you go higher and higher in business and whatever you do, it's the toughest part to figure out that navigation, to be able to make, if you're a woman out there listening and you want to get where you want to go in business, sadly what you have to do, every communication you have with any man of power, when you turn around and walk away, he has to think to himself in his mind, I could probably sleep with that girl. I mean, I'm going to, but I mean, I could.
Right.
She wants me, right?
Right.
And then if it ever gets to the point where it's there, you have to know how to navigate out of it.
Right.
Like if you're a comedian and you're in the clubs, comedians are famous notorious for trying to sleep with female comedians.
Well, I like the thing that you are pointing out, because the point of this podcast is to give men insight into the female mind. So I think you are showing this deep understanding of what happens to us on a daily basis and why some guards may be up, why we have boundaries in place. Because I know for myself, before I've been doing this for 10 years, but before that, I was working in the finance world where I would network with people, and that was my job, to network with them. And certain times I'd be like, are we going out so I can network, or are we going out so you can sleep with me? And it's like a blurred line. And when you're a younger female, especially, and you don't have any power behind you, it's really difficult to sort of put that boundary up there, because you can be cut off completely from your workspace.
I know for me,
it's really
I don't say that I have a boyfriend because I don't want to cut off any sort of potential relationship.
No, you can't, and that's the thing, and that's why a lot of comedians don't wear wedding rings when they perform.
Right.
But one of the things I was saying about you, like, if you want to set a boundary as a female comedian, the easiest thing to do when a comedian hits on you is to say, "Thank you so much. I'm flattered, but I don't date comedians."
Right.
And that's the easiest way to go. And they'll still keep trying, but at least you have that thing it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And this is what it is. It's never going to happen. And I think that I'm fascinated by the dynamic of this podcast and how it goes, because I do believe, going back to what I told you about the dinners that I have, I think that if a woman at the dinner did, let's say, move from her seat next to me and probably did make an advance or something like that, maybe it would be easier for me to realize that it's okay. But I feel like if that doesn't happen...
I think a lot of men are actually in your position because they've heard for so long, men are dogs, men are assholes, men are this, men are that. So they don't want to overstep that boundary, and they don't want to be the aggressor, and maybe don't understand the difference between being assertive and stating your intentions versus being the aggressor. Because I know for me in the past, and a lot of women that I've talked to, if they are hanging out with a guy and they're having fun, they're having a connection, and the girl's into the guy, but they're getting nothing back from the guy in terms of intimacy or making moves, they get really pissed off and offended slowly. But it happens where they can start to belittle the man in certain ways. Instead of just saying, like, are you going to kiss me already? Instead of saying that, they can actually turn that frustration into tension, and that can possibly ruin a really great relationship, because this guy's trying to be a gentleman, but they're interpreting it in a whole different way, where they're not wanted, or they're possibly sitting across from a man who's gay and sees them as a friend. So it can be very confusing for a lot of women, a situation like that.
But I think women have the power. Men are like furniture. You just push them around. I mean, you don't... Literally, a guy has no fucking idea what's happening. We have any.
But that's what this show is for, to give them the idea of what's happening.
Times where I've gone out with girls and we've had great times, and then it's just gone by the wayside, and then months later it'll be like, hey, how come nothing ever? And I was
I
like,
had a crush on you.
Oh, you wanted? Oh, you were? Oh, that's what we were doing? And she's like, yes, you fucking idiot. And I was like, oh, my bad.
But I feel
sorry.
I guess I feel like if a woman really wants something, women are amazing. They're in another league. So if they really want to have something with you, they'll figure out a way to have something with you.
It's true.
And so if
that is true. But sometimes
so if
the
it
subtle
doesn't
cues
happen,
aren't picked up by a lot of men.
And I think what's really hard for me is, like, I don't, you know, I it's awful to say, but I don't picture myself when I see somebody who's around my age range. It feels odd to me, and I feel like I relate to people who are younger souls or whatever. But then, like I said, if I am around somebody who I feel like chemistry with, I feel like awful, because I feel like I'm not supposed to be with this person because there's that age difference. And so I play that thing with myself that, and I should be having more,
lots of guilt for Barry.
I should be having more. I grew up in the house that guilt built.
Right, yeah.
What is it, Susie Espin? Was she the one who said, or was it Kathy Ladman? She said, what's the definition of religion? Guilt with different holidays?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we have a segment that's called Overanalyze This.
Overanalyze.
It was called Analyze This, but we analyze things for a long time, so we overanalyze it. And I would love for you to participate and answer some questions, because I think you'll have interesting insight.
I would love to. I'm really, like I said, I'm really enjoying this, and I wish I could. Believe it or not, I don't want to leave, and I
think Barry just loves life. That's the thing. That's why you like younger women, because they're just as enthusiastic.
Well, you give off a very fun, like light, positive energy. So I think it helps other people because, like, before you came in, I was like a lump on a log, and all of a sudden I'm like charisma queen here. So I think like other people like do have an influence on other people, how they feel about themselves.
I hope so.
But I think that may be the key to your success, because you have helped so many comedians get their start and make them into being something big. So being able to provide that confidence in some, or not, you're not giving them their confidence, but helping them find that confidence in themselves, that's a huge skill set that can transfer over to women, to business, every area. Like that skill is not seen in a lot of people. But I want to get to these questions before you can comment back. But here's the first question.
We want your help answering these questions.
Yeah, of course. So please feel free to participate. Absolutely love the show. I've listened to you guys since the first episode. My question is it better to have a few girlfriends around with the option of hooking up, or is it better to constantly meet as many different girls as possible and see what happens? A friend of mine says I should try to have many lady friends so that I can branch out and hook up with their friends. So is it better to have lots of women around you? I guess that's the main question.
As opposed to
are your chances better if you have lots of women around you? Like make female friends, like always interacting with women?
Yeah, I think for sure it is.
Yeah.
Well,
opportunity leads to opportunity.
I think, the more things you're around in anything in your career and your personal life, the better chance you. If you're an actress and you're going on 100 auditions,
right,
you have a better chance of booking a gig if you're going on one audition.
Right,
yeah, exactly.
So I think maybe what he's trying to get at is maybe being serious with like less women, or kind of flimsy with a bunch of women.
No, I think what he's saying is he needs to visit more women's prisons.
Yeah,
exactly. The thing is that it was actually from an anonymous person, so I don't know how to direct this, Mr. Anonymous. But the thing is exactly what Barry said. Like, it depends on what you want. If your goal is to have a girlfriend, then be around a lot of women until you find a girlfriend. But if you want to have lots of experiences, try different girls out, see what you like and don't like, then have as many women around you as possible. Women that are your friends, women that are your lovers, whatever you want, as long as you're not being an asshole.
And I just want to share this one thing that relates to business and personal.
Yeah.
The thing that you always have to do, whatever it is you're having an issue with, let's say it's a guy who's having problems finding women, you look at a part of your life that works, like something that always works for you, whatever it is. Maybe you're a person who, no matter what they do, they're always, let's say that in work, they always get the report done on time and they always get the thing together, and there's never a time when they don't complete the task of things necessary to do the thing. So all you have to do is apply that to if you want to, let's say, have a relationship with a woman. Then again, you create the opportunities. If you're a brain surgeon, you're in deep shit because you can't fail. You have 100 operations, you have to have 100 successful operations. In your personal life, you can go out on 100 dates and fail 99 times, and all it takes is one to work. And it's the same as an actress.
Yeah.
It's like nobody cares about the 90. Nobody knows. Nobody knows anything. All that matters is the one that works. So the more opportunity, the better.
I love that. All right, next question. Which one do you want to get to?
I would just scroll down a little. Sorry. The other ones are really
this one
too long. Yeah.
Hi, ladies. I'm a huge fan of the podcast. You ladies have great advice for both women and men. I know you have touched on dating someone who is older than you and have mentioned that it can work for some people. My question is, do you think it can work for the long term? I am a 27-year-old female and I'm falling for my coworker who is 18 years older than me. He is the most kind and thoughtful man I have ever met. We are both training. Yeah, seriously. We're both training for a marathon and spend time together on the weekends. We're only friends, but I have talked about maybe taking the next step. What are your honest thoughts? Jill.
Go for it, Jill.
Damn straight go for it. Why wouldn't you?
There's no
you have
strings.
Things in common. No strings. Well, she doesn't.
I thought she was
marriage.
saying. I thought she was saying before you got the years older. I thought she was saying, and he's 18.
That's what I thought too. I was like, okay, good for you, Jill.
Good for you.
I think, first of all, you have the right to date anybody that you want to. There's no limitations. I love what you were saying, that not that you would, be arrested for who you want to date, because I think it should be 18 and older. But I think that connection is really rare. And if you happen to make a connection with somebody that is 20 years older than you or 20 years younger than you, then that's amazing. You shouldn't avoid that feeling and that experience because of a number.
Also, for this particular person who wrote in, I think the issue a lot of times for men and women is they have an attachment. They have a preconceived expectation of what, is this going to go for the long term? Is this going to go whatever?
Right.
It's like your mother always tells you, better to have loved than lost than never have loved at all. And so the fact is you go for something with all great intentions, and if it goes the distance, that's wonderful. And if it doesn't, send them a fruit basket at the end because the next relationship led to that.
Absolutely. And she's 27. It's not like you're 21 and it's someone who's 20 years older. You're 27. At that point, as a woman, you pretty much know.
But my fear is like, I always think about death and dying, and I'd be like, every day I'd be like, he's going to die this many years before me, or this many years before
I say that about my husband,
I would think about that too much, and then get caught up and maybe lose the flame because I'm over-analyzing, like, what day he's going to die.
You know what's weird?
I'm going to overanalyze anything then.
I'll tell you something personal about me, and I don't want you to get bummed out. I was married when I was 26, and my wife was 23, and she passed away after 8 months. Don't be sorry. And so, and the thing is, my whole, what you're thinking, my whole philosophy in the next part of my dating life or personal life was, oh my God, if I go out with somebody again, the next one's going to die.
Really?
And because that's the only thing you know.
Right.
And then when you look into the eyes of your children, 15 years later, you realize that even the most horrible things that happen to you in your personal life and your career lead to extraordinary things. And that's what goes on, and that's the way it works, and you can point to that in every single thing. So this person who wrote in, yes, you go for this, and God forbid something bad happens or it doesn't work or whatever, that's going to lead you to that next successful thing that you're in and that you do.
Exactly.
And you may be with your boyfriend and you may end up being with that person for 50 years, but if, God forbid, you kick him to the curb or he says, listen, this isn't working,
we're keeping our fingers crossed for that.
There's going to be another person.
Right.
And that's going to make you happy. And you're going to look into the eyes of your children and say, oh, that's the plan.
Right.
I love that. Good answer. So anyway, Jill, do it.
Yeah, go for it.
You like
girl.
marathons together.
Plus, you've got a limited time on the earth. Go for it.
Exactly.
Before you know
exactly. Give them an experience to remember. Okay, I have heard that sometimes women will not respond to texts or emails or not answer the phone even when they like a man. I actually had this happen to me last year. If this is common, how common is it? And how do you tell the difference between lack of interest and whatever causes a woman to ignore a man she likes?
What the hell?
I don't think that this is...
Robert.
This is not really happening. I think if a woman likes a man, maybe there will be some time lapse in between a text or an email, but I don't think she's ever completely avoiding you. So I think this is specific for this guy, and maybe he's not hitting it off with these women that he thinks he is.
But there's something that's telling him, oh, these women like me, even though they're not responding. So that question is coming from somewhere.
It's called delusion.
Maybe. I think that if a woman's not responding to you at all, I don't, unless she's, I don't know how old you are. I'm guessing you're younger. Then it's like intense games that are going on. But other than that, I would say most women who do have interest in you will respond over text and email.
Question.
Yeah, you think so?
I mean,
okay.
For him to say he's heard this happens and then say,
I think
this happened to me last year.
I think he has really nice friends, and they're like, no, this happens all the time.
Yeah. That was like the simple pickup guys where they're like, whoa, like when we were younger last year.
Right.
Yeah.
I think if you're, sometimes when you're a guy and you, let's say you have certain resources and you take women out to really nice restaurants and really nice evenings where maybe they don't have the resources to do that on their own. I think a lot of times there are certain women, especially here in California, that they meet a lot of men who take them out to nice places. And so you could be in a situation where, as a guy, you do get a text on a Sunday and say, what are you doing tonight? And you know that they just want to experience that beautiful night and they don't have one that weekend.
Right.
And they're just hungry and they want a beautiful evening and with somebody who's not going to want to, have their ankles in two different zip codes.
Well, actually, that's interesting that you brought this up.
Well said.
Not the zip code part, but we were talking about that at the beginning part of the show. How do you realize when a woman is just going out with you for those experiences versus she likes you and wants to continue dating you, but may have a different belief system on contributing and paying for meals?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say this. I don't think I've ever had anyone in one of those moments, reach into their bag and while I was in the bathroom and pay for the check. It's always the fake grab.
Yeah.
But at least you get the fake grab.
The fake grab. I wish I had. I wish I could get the real grab instead of the fake grab. It's the fake. So I think if a woman really wants that or wants to have something, again, my belief is in this day and age is they're going to show you that they want something with you. They're either going to grab. They're either going to grab your hand and hold your hand or do
something that can show the way that she can,
or suggest going for a walk or something.
No,
like
right, something else that's intimate. Exactly, something else that she can contribute.
I mean, honestly, I know this seems comical. I'm not meaning to be comical. If a guy wants to be intimate with a woman, he's got to figure out all these navigational things to get where he needs to go to get to that point.
Right.
If a woman wants to get intimate, she just walks up to any random guy, taps on the shoulder, and says, "Let's go."
Right.
That's the difference.
Yeah, it's true. If a woman just wants sex from a man, yes, that's very true.
Even if she doesn't want sex, even if she says, "Listen," walks up to anybody, "Look, I just saw you from abroad. I'd love to have dinner with you tonight." Okay.
Do you think that every woman can do that?
Yes.
Every woman.
Not every woman has the balls to do it, but if they did it, they would succeed, I would say 99% of the time.
How many guys would succeed 99% of the time?
99.90 negative.
That's
I don't know,
right.
I was trying to get to none.
That's right. I remember I did a deal for a guy. Obviously, you know who Neil Strauss is.
He's a friend of mine.
Who wrote the book The Game. And I did a deal for one of his disciples named Mystery for a television show on VH1.
Pickup artist.
Yes, and I flew down to his lair in Miami.
We were just talking about lairs.
And see, I'm a little psychic too. And this is what was fascinating. I'm paraphrasing, but we went out to a place, and he said to me, he said, "Look at anybody in this place. It doesn't matter if they're 18 years old here with the college kids, or the 35-year-old divorcee with her friends, or the married woman over there, or the 60-year-old woman over here. You just point to anybody, Barry, and they'll be in my house tonight. Mm-hmm. I don't care if
Mystery said that?
I don't care if they're married.
Because he has
I
a
don't
gun
care.
in his pocket and he points it up at people and you don't see him do it. He's just like this. He's like, "Come with me." I told Barry Katz,
I've been picked up by Mystery. I get it.
He definitely has something in his pocket.
He definitely does, and you can see it because he's wearing a unitard
chloroform.
usually when he's picking you up. But he has charisma. He's exciting to be around. He's interesting. The first time I met him, he said to me, "You're short," and then from that comment, we ended up having a 2-hour conversation of bantering back and forth. And I totally understand.
But he didn't get what he ultimately wanted.
No. Well, I don't know what he wanted, but he wanted me to want him.
We
so
know
he
what
got,
he wanted.
He got that. But I had a boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband. But yes, well, he got me for 2 hours. I was one of the only females
He's
at the
cutting
pickup
off
summit.
at least 75% of the population by naming himself Mystery. That's like, you lost me at Mystery.
All right. True serum in your veins, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You've been with your present man for how long?
10 years.
10 years. Okay. How many times in your life have you met somebody where you actually thought to yourself during that time, I wonder what that would be like?
Probably like 9 or 10.
9 or 10. And how many of those 9 or 10 times do you tell him?
Did I tell my husband?
Yes.
I wouldn't tell my husband, but we talk very openly, but not about specifics.
Well, if he listens to the show, I think you just did.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but again, I'm not being specific. I wouldn't come home and say, "You know what, I met that guy George tonight, and he really seems like a good option for me."
Why wouldn't you